Hello anime fan, welcome back to What If Animes 2.0. So in this video you gonna see, what if Naruto's hidden wife was Temari? This is part 1, and if you want more then hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. So let's get in the video and do check out the author of the story. There was nothing but yelling behind the doors that held a meeting with the counselors of the village. It was mainly the civilians demanding for Suna to pay somehow for siding with one of the village's greatest enemies in history. We should execute some of the captured sand shinobi to show them our power over them. A civilian yelled, "Are you stupid? If we kill them that'll completely sever the bond we have with them. We should find a way to peacefully resolve this without having to have anyone die." Jiraiya said, pinching the bridge of his nose, "Why should we go for peace? They attacked us and killed our own right here in our home." A civilian retorted, "Lord Jiraiya is right." Shikaku started, "If all we do is respond with violence it'll only spurn them to respond the same way and we could start a fourth shinobi world war and Kumo and Iwa wouldn't hesitate to jump in with Suna, not to mention that Kiri is still having a civil war that they wouldn't help us. We'd be all alone against 3 great nations. Do you honestly want to fight a slaughter?" This got all of the civilians to shut up and process what he said. "When I was a sensei with Minato on my team I told him how much I wanted to rid the world of all the evil and negativity there was. I passed on my dream to him to find a way and he died believing in that dream. Hiruzen sensei also believed this when he passed this ideology to me. There has to be a way to resolve this peacefully." Jiraiya said with complete seriousness, yet serenity in his voice, "There has to be a way." Jiraiya said, closing his eyes and thinking. Suna council chambers. The Sand siblings were standing outside of the chambers of their village's council and all they could hear was shouting and yelling about what to do. They couldn't make out what was being said, not that it really interested them. They just lost the man who was their father but kept them at arm's distance. All they had left was Baki, and seeing as he was serving as acting case cage they were waiting for him to finish this meeting. "Kankuro, Temari." Gaara started with his raspy voice, looking at the ground. The 2 older siblings looked at their baby brother in between them. "I'm sorry," he said. Temari and Kankuro looked at each other. A soft smile graced both of their faces, knowing it was hard for Gaara to even say this. They knew he wanted to say more about what he was sorry for but he didn't need to. It was conveyed through those simple words. Temari looked back at her brother smiling and softly said to him, "It's okay Gaara, we're just happy to finally have you back." The 2 gave him a short hug, not really sure how they should act considering they didn't grow up with love and affection being present at all times. Inside the chambers the yelling finally stopped and the doors opened and everyone was giving Temari a weird look as they left but didn't say anything. After all the counselors left, Baki was the only one in the room and he didn't look too pleased with what transpired. "Everything alright sensei?" Kankuro asked. "No Kankuro, things are going to change for our group," he said, looking at the scroll before him. "What do you mean?" Temari asked. Baki tossed the scroll to Temari and she undid it and read the contents and her eyes grew wide seeing what he meant. "Are you kidding me? This can't be real. Tell me you're joking sensei." Temari yelled in anger and confusion. "I tried my best to keep you. I'm sorry Temari. It's final, there's nothing I can do about it." "What are you talking about?" Kankuro asked. "Our genius council has decided to marry me off to someone in Konoha as an act of peacemaking." She yelled and Kankuro's eyes grew wide. "Is that even possible sensei?" He asked. "Yes, it's an old way of making alliances with villages. The offsprings will have dual citizenship and the bride will be forced to move and live with her groom-to-be. And who am I supposed to be marrying?" she asked. "It's right there on the paper, one Naruto Uzumaki." The council was impressed by his performance in stopping Gaara and they found out that he's the Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox that killed their 4th Hokage 13 years ago. They think with you being the daughter of the 4th case cage and him being a Jinchuriki you 2 will have powerful children that will represent the bond between our villages." Baki explained to Temari, whose eyes grew wide. "Naruto Uzumaki huh? He's nothing but a loudmouth brat. But I guess I could have gotten worse if the council would have scrapped through the bottom of the barrel into the dirt." She thought to herself, "Go pack your things Temari. You leave in 1 week if Konoha accepts, and I expect them to accept the terms." "I'm sorry Temari," he said as he gave her a hug. For Baki it was like losing his only daughter. "I will sensei," Temari said, hugging him back and doing her best to hold back tears. She immediately left for home and began preparing for her departure. Later that night Konoha. Jiraiya was standing on top of the Hokage building when he saw a desert hawk fly up to him and land on the railing around the roof. Jiraiya cocked an eyebrow, not expecting any message from anyone and certainly not from where he thinks it's from. Suna? He thought as he walked up to the bird and took the letter off its back and let the hawk hop on his shoulder. Jiraiya quickly read through the letter and saw that it was a proposal from Suna about keeping peace. The best part about it was there would be no killing, which is exactly what Jiraiya wanted to avoid, and it seems like Suna just offered them an opportunity to do just that. He kept reading to see that they were offering up their own fourth Kage's daughter to be wed to none other than his own godson Naruto Uzumaki. "You've got to be shitting me," Jiraiya said, sighing out. The kid is not gonna be happy about this, but it seems like the only sure way to prevent a full war. "I'm sorry, Naruto," Jiraiya whispered as he turned to look at the giant stone head of his former student that he treated like a son. Sorry he couldn't find love on his own Minato, he said before walking inside and dropping the hawk off to the messenger tower. Next morning Jiraiya had called the council to meet once again early in the morning. Once all the clan heads were there along with the civilian reps. "Why are we here so early, Master Jiraiya?" Sume asked, yawning. "Because we have a way to resolve our issue with Suna," he said, getting everyone to wake up and listen in. "Late last night a messenger hawk came up to me and it contained a letter from Suna. Suna is willing to offer up Temari Sabaku to be wedded to one of our own shinobi," Jiraiya said, getting the shinobi in the room to widen their eyes. "But that method is ancient, no one practices that anymore," Chosa said. "I know, but at the same time it's the best way to resolve things without killing anyone," Jiraiya replied. "So who's she marrying?" Shikaku asked. "Obviously the Uchiha," a civilian said. Sume just rolled her eyes and nonchalantly responded to them. "When are you gonna hop off that kid's micropenis? It's always Uchiha this and Uchiha that with you civilians. Why are you guys even here? This doesn't concern you." The clan heads all had their eyes wide as Sume finally said what was on all of their minds, and they were trying so hard not to bust a gut. "How dare you talk to me like that?" The civilian retorted. "You know, Lady Inuzuka, you make a valid point," Jiraiya said with a sinister tone. "From here on I officially disband the civilian council. Get out," Jiraiya said with all seriousness. "But what about issues involving everyday issues? Then you can bring it up to the clan head that's closest to you and they'll resolve it. It's a good thing our clans are spread out across the village. We'll split up jurisdiction, and if an issue happens you go to the clan head responsible for that area and they have authority to resolve it. Of course the Hokage will have to approve it, but that way we don't have to waste time hearing you bitch and moan about the most minuscule shit," Jiraiya said. "But, bye-bye," Jiraiya said, waving his hand with a fake smile. The civilians all got up and left, still in shock of what happened. Now back on topic, the shinobi Suna's council has picked to marry Temari Sabaku is no other than my apprentice Naruto Uzumaki, Jiraiya said, and the clan heads all nodded, seeing that as a reasonable choice. Glad to know we can all see why they were impressed with him. He did splendid in the Chunin exams, much better than what most people thought. He beat one Neji Hyuga who everyone thought was going to wipe the floor with. Then he proceeded to take down Gaara, who unleashed the one-tail beast by summoning the toad boss Gamabunta, and then used a transformation jutsu to change Gamabunta to the Kyuubi. Kid has talent. So if we're all in agreement, we'll send a letter back to Suna telling them we accept the terms of marriage between Temari Sabaku and Naruto Uzumaki, who will be wed here and live here in Konoha, Jiraiya said, and all the clan heads nodded in agreement. Well then we're done here, Jiraiya said as the clan heads got up, happy to not have to listen to the civilians bitch and complain for an extra few hours. It was nice to have quick meetings. Jiraiya left and headed out to Naruto to tell him the news after he quickly wrote up a response letter for Suna telling them Konoha was agreeing to the terms. Sorry to do this to ya kid, but we need to start getting some peace into this world, and it looks like it's gonna start with you, the white-haired sage thought to himself. Naruto woke up and got ready like he normally does, but something felt off to him. He quickly checked around the inside of his apartment and saw nothing out of the ordinary, but when he looked out to his balcony he saw Jiraiya looking across the village. Pervy sage? What are doing here so early? He asked. We've got some serious business to go over quickly, Naruto, he replied, and Naruto nodded before heading inside. They both took a seat and Naruto was hoping everything was alright and he wasn't in trouble. Kid, your life is about to change drastically. Jiraiya started getting a confused look from the blonde. Suna sent a message yesterday that got here late last night. They offered a peace treaty of sorts, but it was in a manner that hasn't been practiced in decades. The sage continued. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Long ago, when countries would stop fighting to make treaties, normally the losing side would offer up a beautiful woman to become the bride of a male from the winning country. Suna lost to us, so they're offering up one of their best, if not the best kunoichi they have in Temari Sabaku. The name sounds familiar. Naruto said, Gaara's older sister. Jiraiya replied, oh, sandy blonde hair tied into 4 bun things? Naruto asked, wields a giant fan? Yup, that'd be her. Jiraiya finished. So who's the unlucky bastard this village has offered? Naruto said, leaning back. Really, Naruto? You haven't put 2 and 2 together. Jiraiya deadpanned. It took only a second before realization dawned on Naruto. Are you fucking kidding me? Why me of all people? I mean, I don't even know her, let alone love her. How the fuck am I supposed to keep peace and marry her if I don't love her? Naruto yelled. I know, kid. Believe me, I'd rather you find love on your own, but this is the only viable option right now to ensure war doesn't break out for the whole world. I'm really sorry, Naruto. Jiraiya said, trying to console the blonde. Why me? He asked dejectedly. Suna was impressed with how you beat Gaara, and they think the offspring of your child and Temari's will create a strong shinobi who will show the bond between our villages. So I'm just supposed to throw away my feeling for Sakura so I can be thrown into this marriage that's being done against my will? Unfortunately, yes. This is part of the shinobi life. As ancient as this method is, it's a part of it. I'm sorry, kid. Jiraiya said, getting up and placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. This sucks. Naruto replied, sinking into his chair. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? The rest of the day Naruto tried to train, but he was too focused on this marriage he was being sentenced to that even Kakashi noticed he wasn't his normal. He wasn't hitting on Sakura, he was barely focusing on training, which was very unusual for the blonde who always spouts about being the future Hokage. Naruto, are you okay? Kakashi asked. Yeah, just processing some stuff pervy sage told me. He said, HN. Well, whatever it is, if you don't feel up to training, why don't you go home? Same goes for you too, training is finished for the day. Kakashi said, and Sasuke immediately turned to leave and Sakura began chasing after him, but it felt different since a certain blonde wasn't trying to ask her out. Instead, he was heading to his own home. Naruto trudged his way home, not sure of what to make of his new upcoming situation, and it frustrated the hell out of him. Naruto eventually made it home to where he found Kakashi leaning against his door, not reading his pervy novel, which piqued Naruto's interest. No porn for you, Kaka-sensei? What's going on, Naruto? You haven't been yourself recently and it's obvious. Want to talk about it over a bowl or ramen? Kakashi asked, knowing the blonde couldn't turn down ramen. Sure, ramen sounds pretty good right about now. Naruto said, cracking a small smile. Ichiraku ramen stand. As Naruto and the copy ninja were eating, Naruto began telling him what he recently found out from Jiraiya. Damn, sorry to hear that, Naruto. Well, I guess on the bright side this won't really be official until a new Hokage is appointed. Kakashi said, which is why we're going to find her. Jiraiya said, entering the stand. Master Jiraiya, good to see you again. Kakashi said, nodding his head. Same to you, Kakashi. The sage replied, what do you mean we're getting the next Hokage? Naruto asked, well, you and I are going to go on a trip to bring back the next Hokage, and while traveling we're going to up your training. Jiraiya said, which got Naruto to really perk up. Really? You mean it, pervy sage? Naruto said, getting hyper again. Yup, pack your things, we leave in 1 hour. Jiraiya said, vanishing to probably get one last peek for his next novel. I gotta go, Kaka-sensei, see ya. Naruto said, taking off immediately. Later. Kakashi said with an eye smile before he looked and noticed that Naruto never paid for the food. Naruto, get back here and pay for your 10 bowls. Kakashi yelled but sighed, knowing it was no use. Hehe. Oh, Minato-sensei, if only you were here to see yours and Lady Kushina's son. He's so much like the both of you. Kakashi said as he finished his 3rd bowl and paid for Naruto as well before he began wandering around the village and managed to end up at the memorial stone. Seems like I always end up here. Kakashi thought with his hands in pocket. Suna inside the Suna council chambers, they had received word that the Leaf had agreed to the terms set forth in the marriage proposal. But finalization would have to come from their Godem Hokage, which Jiraiya and Naruto were currently searching for. Well, seems like Temari is going to be leaving soon. Baki thought to himself. Baki headed out to find Temari and saw that she was training with her siblings at their family training ground. Baki-sensei, what's up? Kankuro asked. Well, Kankuro, we just received word from the Leaf that they accepted the terms. Temari will be wedded to Naruto Uzumaki. Of course it won't be official until they've appointed a new Hokage, but by then we'll be in the village to meet with the new Hokage and iron out some finer details. I'm sorry, Temari, Baki said, looking at the young blonde trying to see her reaction. All she did was sigh and turned to finish packing things up. I'll be in my room if anyone needs me, Temari said, putting her fan on her bag and leaving. Time skip 3 days. Naruto and Jiraiya had finally made it to Tanzaku town, and Naruto had progressed much faster at the Rasengan than Jiraiya expected, with Naruto blasting through stage 1 in 1 day. Then he managed to get through stage 2 today. So what's next, pervy sage? Next is combing them and maintain it. You'll use a water balloon again, but the goal is to not burst it yet still have the rotation and power with it. The balloon is merely just a visualization for you to know what the Rasengan is supposed to look like. Jiraiya said as he formed one in his hand. Got it, Naruto said as he quickly took the bag of balloons and began working hard while Jiraiya slipped away into town to find any clues on his missing teammate. Plus it gave Naruto plenty of time to train and focus. Nightfall by nightfall, Naruto had slowly managed to figure it out. Even though he couldn't maintain it long enough, he was able to get it going for about 5 seconds before his concentration broke. I wonder, Naruto thought before crossing his fingers for his favorite jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He yelled and he looked at his copy before holding out his palm while his clone began shaping the chakra by moving his hands in different direction to create the shape of it. To the surprise of Naruto, he was finally able to make the Rasengan and maintain it thanks to his clone. Naruto then charged at a tree and put a spiral dent in it and left it scarred. Perfect. Now I gotta find pervy sage and tell him, Naruto said as he rushed into town and managed to find Jiraiya still searching for his teammate. Hey pervy sage, I got down the Rasengan, Naruto yelled out, and the women immediately glared in the direction of Jiraiya, who grabbed Naruto and sprinted away, avoiding the mob of angry women before he cut into a pub to try and hide out for a minute before continuing his search. You idiot, don't say call me that out in the open, Jiraiya said, glaring at him. Come on, Jiraiya said, turning around and noticing huge breasts on a young blonde. Tsunade, Jiraiya yelled, pointing at her. Jiraiya, Tsunade replied, standing up after slamming her hands on the table. Come on kid, Jiraiya said, pulling Naruto into the booth that Tsunade and Shizune were occupying. Up pervy sage, there's no way this blonde is your teammate, she's too young looking. Are you sure you're not just trying to hook up in front of me again? Naruto said, squinting his eyes at him. Seems your apprentices get shorter, uglier and dumber looking, Jiraiya, Tsunade said, taking a sip of sake. The hell did you say to me? Naruto said, turning his attention to the busty blonde. You heard me, brat, she said, taking a swig straight from the bottle. Naruto clenched his fists to the point where his nails were cutting his palms open. Oops, did I offend you? Tsunade asked mockingly while smirking. Naruto, stand down, Jiraiya said firmly while looking at his teammate. You know about Sarutobi-sensei, right? You know that Orochimaru attempted to decimate the village with the hidden sand and he killed sensei, Jiraiya said, trying to get a reaction from Tsunade. Orochimaru told me the other day. He also made me an offer. He said something about healing his arms. Sensei sealed away in exchange for Nawaki and Dan coming back, Tsunade said calmly, not showing any sadness for the death of her sensei. You know that he won't do it. Even if he does, it's not like they'll actually be here. They're gone, Tsunade. I'm sorry, but they're gone as gone as WHO? Minato, your failure of a student. WHO couldn't even last over a year being Hokage. You know that's why you're here, isn't it? You want me to come back home to take over as Hokage? Well, you can forget it. Only a fool would take that stupid title to only throw their life away, Tsunade yelled before quieting down to a near murmur. Just shut up already, Naruto yelled, punching the table in half. I don't care what you think of anyone anymore, but don't you dare disrespect the Hokages and what they've done. Enough, Naruto. You don't even know Tsunade. She's practically royalty, Jiraiya yelled back. What? She's the granddaughter of the first grandniece of the second, student of the third, and a very distant in-law of the fourth. She's somehow related to every Hokage in history. Jiraiya said, I don't give a shit if she is. She's still a Konoha native and should at least respect it. Naruto said. Tsunade got up and started walking out but spoke to the young blonde, you and me, outside, now. She said. Naruto got up knowing damn well what was about to happen. Shizune also got up and quickly healed Naruto's hands to erase the blood and cuts. Thank you, he said before walking out with Jiraiya in tow. All I'll need to beat you is one finger, so show me what you've got, brat. Tsunade said, not even getting in a stance, but Naruto got in a stance ready to throw down. A leaf was blowing in the wind and the second it touched the ground Naruto charged straight in, cocking back his arm for a punch, but Tsunade merely sidestepped and brought her left leg high up before bringing it straight down on his back, making him slam into the ground and creating a crater. Asterisk. In a dark place. Rumbling. Red slitted eyes open up and a low grumbling was heard. What's the idiot doing now? Real world. Naruto coughed up blood in the crater and was slow to get up but managed to and saw Tsunade smirking. You're pretty tough to handle that kick, but let's see just how much more your body can handle. I'll keep going and I won't quit, cause I'm gonna become the Hokage one day. I guarantee it, Naruto said with pure determination as he began to increase his chakra output to the point where a visible blue aura surrounded his body. He's got way too much chakra for a normal genin his age. What the hell is he, Jiraiya? Tsunade thought to herself as the young blonde made a shadow clone and it began moving its hands around his open palms like he was trying to form something. What the hell is he doing? The busty blonde thought before she started to see a blue ball of condensed chakra form in his palm. Are you crazy teaching him that, Jiraiya? She yelled out knowing damn well what it was. Hey, your fight's with me, Naruto said, charging in with a Rasengan with greater speed since he's enhancing his body with chakra. Rasen, Naruto started to yell out before Tsunade slammed one finger into the ground, creating a divide, and Naruto's foot got caught in it, causing him to lose concentration in his footing as the Rasengan slammed into the ground but leaving a good-sized crater with swirling burn marks in the middle. You taught him an A- rank assassination jutsu. Are you stupid? Tsunade yelled at Jiraiya. He was ready for it, besides he's nearly perfected it in just under 1 week. Jiraiya said proudly. That doesn't matter, and besides there's no way he'll learn to control it, he's got too much chakra to handle. Tsunade said. He'll get it, Jiraiya said looking at Naruto, who got up and was scuffed up a bit. Fine, hey brat, come here. Tsunade said to Naruto. What do you want? Is winning not enough for you? He said, not looking her in the eyes. Tsunade grabbed his chin lightly and made him look her in the eyes since they were both 5 feet 5 inches. Let's make a bet. I bet that you can't master the Rasengan in 1 week. If you do, I'll come back with you and become your Hokage, if not, you two leave me the hell alone and never search me out. Got it? Tsunade said as Naruto jerked his head away so she wasn't holding his chin. I'll do it in less than 1 week. Naruto said with fire in his eyes. Fine, you have 4 days then. Better get to work, Tsunade said. And you better get your measurements ready. Naruto snapped back but found Tsunade's fist slamming into the crown of his head. Don't ever ask for my measurements again, you pervert. She said. The hell, you asshole, I was talking about your measurements for the Hokage robes and crap that the old man had to wear. What were you thinking of? He said, nursing his head as Shizune helped heal him. Wait, you weren't talking about my breasts? She said, blushing lightly. Of course not. Why would you need to measure them? Everyone can see they're fucking huge, no need to measure them. Fuck, that hurt. Well, just remember the bet, idiot. Shizune, come on, Tsunade said as Shizune finished healing up Naruto and soon left with her master, but of course Jiraiya had to say something. If you won't give the kid your measurements, could I get them? Just like Naruto, Tsunade clocked the pervert in the head and beckoned Shizune to follow, saying he'd be fine. Idiot pervert. Naruto said, shut up brat. Jiraiya snapped back. Well, I guess I better start training again. Naruto said, getting up and walking off to find a good area to train in. After about a half hour of walking around the forest surrounding the town, Naruto found a nice clearing with plenty of trees to hit, alone with a nice little river flowing into a good-sized pond. Before Naruto started, he sat down on a boulder and stared up at the full moon. It's beautiful, he whispered to himself. Suna. It's beautiful, Temari said, looking up at the full moon shining its reflective light down upon the village, lighting it up. Guess this is gonna be the last time I see the moon this clearly for a long time, huh? Temari asked to no one in particular before sighing and pulling her knees closer to her chest and resting her face on them. Tanzaku Town. Tsunade was out getting another drink at a stand when Jiraiya also popped in to chat. Mind if I join? Jiraiya said more than asked as he sat down and was brought a bottle of sake and a small saucer. Why would you teach that idiot something so complex like the Rasengan? It's not like he'll master it. Tsunade said. I believe in the kid because of who his parents are. I mean his father did create the damn thing, so I think Naruto has every right to learn it. So, he's the brat of your student, huh? Who's the mother? Tsunade asked. Your distant cousin and second Jinchuriki after your Mito Ba-chan, Kushina. Jiraiya said, taking a sip and sighed, looking to see that Tsunade's eyes widened but immediately returned to normal, so she didn't look too surprised. So he's the product of those two, huh? Still, either way there's no way he'll master it. Tsunade said. He's just like them, ya no. More like Nawaki in my humble opinion, but he's just like them. They wanted to become Hokage so badly, and Naruto does too. He truly believes he'll become Hokage and then everyone will finally stop looking at him like he's the fox, and I believe him. You're putting too much into the brat, he's no prodigy. Tsunade retorted. Maybe not, but neither was I, and look how I turned out. A pervert. Since day one, but I mean that I've become one of the strongest ninja our home has produced next to you and Orochimaru. I think we honestly made one of the strongest and most well-rounded teams in Konoha history. You shouldn't judge him too harshly, cause he tends to surprise you when you least expect it. So keep doubting him and he'll definitely become Hokage. Jiraiya said, taking another sip. For the next few minutes they sat in silence, just drinking and silently and secretly enjoying the familiar company. After a while Jiraiya broke the silence. Tsunade, that offer Orochimaru made you. As much as you say that you hate Konoha, I know you truly don't, but if you accept that offer, I'll kill you without batting an eyelash, understood? Good night, Heim. Jiraiya said, putting his finished alcohol down and leaving for a hotel. Over the next few days Naruto was training as hard as he could on mastering the Rasengan by having one clone form it and another clone try to create a distraction, forcing him to focus while he slams it into a tree. Over those days Tsunade was keeping tabs on him and began to realize that Jiraiya was right, he really did resemble Dan and mostly Nawaki. It made her wonder if he really could be able to achieve his dream of becoming Hokage. Tsunade began thinking over what Jiraiya had said to about him actually killing her if she betrayed the village and helped Orochimaru. Would he actually do it? The old perv has been in love with me for years. Does he really have the balls to do it? She whispered to herself as she walked around Tanzaku. The 4 days finally passed and back in Suna Temari was forced to ride by carriage as per Suna tradition when marrying off one of their own in a marriage treaty. To say Temari was upset would be an understatement. She knew it was tradition, but she felt like her pride as a kunoichi was taking a hit by being forced to act like a princess when she damn well knew she wasn't a real princess. Nevertheless, she bit her tongue and stayed silent, but did enjoy the moments whenever Kankuro would poke his head in and see how she was doing. From what he was hearing, they were still 3 days out from Konoha, since the trip that would normally take a shinobi 3 days was taking twice as long due to the slow pace the carriage was set at. Back in Tanzaku town we find Jiraiya asleep at a ramen stand and Naruto bedridden from training his ass off to perfect the Rasengan to no avail. Naruto couldn't maintain the chakra long enough to be able to focus even if a distraction happened, causing him to always lose it, but he worked himself to the bone and paid the price with chakra exhaustion. The shop owner tried waking up Jiraiya, but he was completely out of it thanks to Tsunade spiking his drink the other night when they went out again. Jiraiya trudged along after finally being woken up to realize that he can't mold much chakra and set out to find Tsunade's hotel room as best as he could. Meanwhile in said hotel room Naruto woke up to find Shizune knocked out and woke her up, and the med nin began to freak out wondering what day it was. After finding out, she was amazed that Naruto had recovered so quickly, but remembered that Naruto is the current Jinchuriki for the 9 tails according to Jiraiya. We need to leave Naruto, now. Lady Tsunade is leaving to make the deal with Orochimaru. We have to stop her from making the biggest mistake of her life. Right then, let's go. Naruto yelled as they were just about to leave. Through the window a kunai came flying right in front of Shizune's face and buried itself in the wall right next to her face. She looked to see who threw it and saw Jiraiya looking like he'd seen better days. She pulled one over me. She spiked my drink last night, that witch. Jiraiya said, panting. Shizune ended up bringing him a pitcher of water to drink, and after having a few glasses and getting all the details straight, they knew what they had to do. I can't believe you're going to make me actually kill you, Tsunade. The white-haired sage thought. Time skip. Naruto, Jiraiya, Shizune, Tonton and Tsunade were making their way back to Konoha after finally defeating Orochimaru and his lackey Kabuto. And by making their way, I mean they were sprinting as fast as they could, since Jiraiya just happened to remember that they were on a strict deadline to try and beat out the group from Suna. Luckily for them, they made it to the village and were welcomed with positivity, seeing as how people were happy to see their future Hokage for the first time. Not to rush, but we need to get Naruto to be presentable. Jiraiya whispered to her, "You're right." Tsunade replied as she waved to the people who were very happy to see their next leader finally return home. The Sannin and Naruto with Shizune quickly stopped by the Hokage office so she could finish checking him for any injuries, and after assessing that he was perfectly fine, she nodded to Jiraiya, who pulled out a beautiful silk kimono that was all black with an orange uzu swirl on the back being formed by 3 tails of the 9-tailed fox, while the other 6 tails were evenly divided fanning out behind the swirl. This thing looks so cool. I mean, I'd put more orange on it, but I actually like it. Thanks, pervy sage. Naruto said, hugging the toad sage, and the old man could only smile and return the hug as Tsunade watched on, smiling. They kinda are like father and son. Maybe grandfather and grandson is more like it. Now come on, kid. We gotta get you to the front gates to meet your future wife. Don't want to make a bad impression. Jiraiya said as Naruto quickly changed into the kimono. How'd I look? Naruto said to Jiraiya and Tsunade. You look good, kid. Jiraiya said, grinning. Like you're ready to get married. Tsunade replied with a friendly smirk. Out on the road? Hey sis, I can see the gates, we're almost there. Kankuro said to Temari, who began to try and calm herself and slow her breathing. Relax, you can do this, Temari. You're a natural warrior, you can handle anything. Konoha. Naruto was quickly rushed to the front gates by 2 of the Sannin and Shizune, which began drawing a crowd seeing Naruto in something other than his bright orange jumpsuit. Great, the whole village is coming out here. Can't they just go away? Naruto muttered. Relax, it'll be okay, Naruto. Jiraiya said, putting a hand on his shoulder. Less than 10 minutes later, the Suna caravan finally arrived to the gates. Greetings, and welcome to the village hidden in the leaves. I'm Tsunade Senju, the Godem Hokage, and it's an honor to welcome friends from the hidden sand to our home. Tsunade said very professionally, which took Naruto by surprise as he leaned over to Jiraiya and whispered, since when can Ba-chan be professional? Hee, since always, kid. Jiraiya replied with a smile. I swear this kid keeps me feeling young, but man, can he also make me feel old as dirt. Temari stepped out of the carriage dressed in a black kimono with sandy-colored wind swirls on it, with a red sash being tied in the back, and her usual battle fan was nowhere in sight. Instead, she had 2 smaller ones tucked away in her sash. The 2 blondes that were to be wedded had their breaths taken away, not realizing that the other could look so good in nice clothing. It's nice to see you again, Temari. Naruto said with a smile that made Temari lightly blush. It's nice to see you too, Naruto. Gaara and Kankuro also walked up, and seeing Gaara put a big smile on Naruto's face. Hey Gaara, how ya been? Naruto practically yelled out, getting the majority of the crowd to face fault. Act professional, idiot. Jiraiya scolded. It's not like I've done this before, pervy sage. Naruto snapped back, showing just how close the 2 were, which put a small smile on Temari's face. These 2 are going to be an interesting combo. Or the death of me, she thought. Alright, why don't we all go to the office and sort out details while arranging where you will stay and getting Temari sworn in. Tsunade said as she led the group to her new office. Now, while I can't officially do anything until 3 days from now when I'm officially announced as Hokage, I can at least get things in order so we can proceed immediately after taking the mantle. Tsunade said as they went over finer details of the marriage contract and visitation and citizenship rights and whatnot. After ironing out everything, everybody left except Naruto, who was told to stay after. Everything alright, Ba-chan? He asked. Naruto, since you're getting married, I feel that it's only right that you know about your heritage and what happened the night you were born. Tsunade said, which got Jiraiya to perk up. Naruto, the night you were born the Kyuubi attacked the village, and since you were the only one in the village born that night, you were the only possible candidate to become the next host of the Nine Tails. Plus your mother being who she was also made it easy to choose you. Tsunade started. Who was she? Tsunade took out a picture of his mother and handed it over to Naruto, and it was a picture of Kushina Uzumaki pregnant with Naruto. What's her name? He asked. Kushina Uzumaki. In so many ways you resemble her, mainly your manners and characteristics and personality. She was one of the strongest kunoichi this village has seen. She was even considered to possibly be a Hokage if she never got pregnant and if the fourth Hokage never took over. Tsunade added. Jiraiya put a hand on Tsunade's shoulder, letting her know that he would cover the information about his father. Alright kid, now comes the part about your father. Let me start with this, don't interrupt until I've finished, got it? Now because of who your father is and the enemies he made, I can't tell you until you're much stronger than you are now. Seeing as how only I really know how strong you are, I'll tell you who he was when I deem it correct to tell you. But I will say this, in the short time they were able to see you, I know for a fact they loved you immensely. Naruto. Tsunade said. Naruto looked at Tsunade. Yeah? I'm sorry about Kushina. But I know she and your father would be proud of the man you're becoming, and they'd be proud of you stepping up to such a task as marrying to keep peace. I know you'd rather take your time and marry for love and not politics, but hopefully you and Temari will find love in each other. Tsunade said. Tsunade then got up and hugged Naruto before giving him a kiss on his forehead. If you ever need anything, I'll be right here, she said softly as he nodded and looked at the picture again. Did they have a home ready for me? He asked. Yeah, I'll take you to it, Jiraiya said, looking to Naruto and then Tsunade, who nodded to him silently, say that they were done. The walk to Naruto's new home was one filled with silence and a lot of thinking by Naruto. Well, here we are, Jiraiya said as they came up to the metal gates surrounding a 20-acre plot of land. The house was set back a bit with a long walkway leading up to the front door. I know this place, Naruto said with eyes wide like he's seen a ghost. You do? The sage asked. I would hide here during the fox hunts when I was younger. They'd beat me until I bled, and when I would get away I'd run here and the gates would open for me, but no one else, Naruto said. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you during those times, kid. Jiraiya said. It's alright. It made me get better at evasion and stealth. Always a plus to something, I guess, Naruto said before biting his finger and smearing the blood on one of the metal bars, and the gates opened up allowing the two on the property. Naruto walked inside to see that everything was covered in dust and there was a thin layer of it hanging in the air. How the hell am I gonna get this dust out of the air? Naruto asked. Well, I guess for now just open up the windows and let the air currents do their thing, Jiraiya suggested. Naruto made some shadow clones to find all the windows in the house and open them up. After they finished their task, they dispelled and Naruto suddenly remembered the entire layout of the house. Hey pervy sage. Why'd I know the entire layout? Oh, so you finally noticed the secret of the shadow clones. Once they dispel, you retain all the memories they made. It makes it the perfect jutsu for stealth and reconnaissance. You can gain intel. The clone will dispel and you'll get the info without putting your life in danger, Jiraiya said. Never really noticed before. Well, why don't we let the air do its thing while we go out for some food, my treat? Sounds good, Naruto said with a grin as they turned and walked out, locking up the property and headed to Ichiraku's to try and beat Naruto in eating the most bowls of ramen. When nightfall arrived, Naruto met up with Temari and her brothers to see how they were doing. How's everything been so far? The blonde asked. Well, other than getting some glares, called traitors, and cursed at, pretty good, Temari replied. I'm sorry for the way they're treating you guys. They don't understand what's going on. Plus you'll probably be getting more of it once you're really associated with me and our marriage becomes public, Naruto said. Why do you say that? Temari asked. Naruto paused for a minute, considering if he really wanted to tell her who he was. After a little bit of thinking, he thought that he had nothing to lose. You mind if we walk and talk about it? He asked. Sure, Temari replied, bringing her two small fans with her. To Temari, they were just walking around aimlessly while receiving glares. But she noticed most weren't even towards her, they were towards the young man she was gonna be marrying soon. I don't know if anyone told you this, Temari. Gaara and I are more alike than you may realize. He started, must be talking about the fox. She thought, how so? She asked. Well, Gaara is a Jinchuriki for the one-tailed Shukaku, right? He replied. Yeah, since he was in our mother's womb he was the Jinchuriki. She said, well, I'm also a Jinchuriki like Gaara, except the beast that lives in me is much stronger, and by that I mean it's the strongest tailed beast known to every living person. I hold the 9-tailed fox, Kyuubi. Naruto Saidi knew it. She thought to herself. Naruto looked over to see her reaction, but she didn't seem surprised in the slightest. You're not surprised? Not really, there was a small detail about you possibly being the Jinchuriki, but you just confirmed it. She said, when I was little they would hold an event called the Fox Hunt. Angry villagers and shinobi would hunt me down to try and finish what the 4th Hokage started. They would beat me with anything they could find, carve names into my chest and abdomen, stab me, burn me. I've even had acid eat my skin, I've been whipped, and just about any other form of torture has been performed on me. Yet every time the one who saved me was the fox by healing me. Naruto said, they did what? Temari yelled out, shocked and angry. She may not know Naruto at all, but the fact that he shared with her this information means he's at least trying to open himself up and trust her with a secret, and she was furious with the villagers. Why didn't you tell the Hokage? I did, nothing got done. He tried his best, but there wasn't much he could do. It's not like he could constantly watch over me 24/7 to make sure an idiot didn't try to take my life or anything. I'm not mad about it or anything. Eventually I got so good at hiding and evading them that for the last 5 years they haven't done anything. Naruto said before coming to a stop before some large metal gates. We're here. He said, here? She asked, my parents' home, or rather our home now. He said, look, Temari, I don't expect you to ever fall in love with me, cause to be honest I don't know if I ever will. We're both doing this because our villages asked us to, but I want you to know that from now on, you're family to me and I'll die protecting you. Naruto said, giving her hand a quick squeeze before letting go. Come on, I'll give you a quick tour. I hope you know a little about gardening because everything here has been dead for years. Naruto said after swiping some of his blood on the metal bars, and they began walking up the path to the front door. Fair warning, I opened all the windows because of how much dust was hanging in the air earlier today, so I don't know if it's all gone or not. Naruto said, how bad can it really be? Temari asked sarcastically before her jaw dropped, seeing just how much dust was still hanging in the air. Seems like none of it left. Naruto said, well, I think I can help with that. Wind style. Air current dance. Temari yelled, swinging her 2 small fans, and a blast of wind came out and forced the dust through the nearest windows until it all got blasted outside and formed a dust cloud hanging in the air. One more to get it all away from us, she said, preparing for another jutsu. Wind style, great breakthrough. Temari yelled, swinging her fans upwards to blast the dust high up into the sky where it can separate and flow freely in the passing wind. Naruto looked on, amazed at her abilities and he control over her wind style. Temari noticed him looking at her, causing her to blush a little. What? She asked. Sorry, you're just really amazing at wind style. I mean, I know you're amazing. I saw you during the Chunin exams, but that was all for offensive purposes. I didn't know you could do something like this. He said, stumbling through his words. Thank you, Naruto. Why don't we head on in and you can show me around, huh? She asked as he nodded and began giving her the grand tour while each of them made mental notes on what they wanted to fix up. After checking everything out, they walked out front and out of the gates. Well, I guess tomorrow I'll be working on fixing up the place. I'm sure you'd rather spend time with your brothers, so I'll get everything ready by tomorrow night. Naruto said with a small smile. I spent all of today with them, including the trip over. So how about I spend the morning with them and then I'll drop by with lunch and we can work together, since it's not just your house now, it's going to be mine too. Temari said with a friendly smirk. Sounds good. I'll walk you back to your hotel. Naruto replied, you know I can take care of myself, right? Temari asked with a raised eyebrow. I know, I just don't trust people late at night to not do anything to you. Technically you're still a sand ninja and they most likely won't accept you for a while, maybe even never, since you'll be associated with me and they seem to hate me for nothing in my power. Naruto said, walking with his hands on the back of his head. I guess you're right. It's not fair to you though. Temari said, looking at him. Well, what can you do? It's not like I can change everyone's opinion of me right now. But I'll change their opinions one day, and when I become Hokage I'll prove them wrong. He said with such determination that it reminded her of the Chunin exams with the balls he had with his statements. Well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna be stuck with keeping you out of trouble, aren't I? Temari asked sarcastically, yup, so get used to it and have fun doing it. Naruto said, smiling at her, causing Temari to blush a little. Baka. She said under her breath. The rest of the week went pretty smooth with Naruto and Temari just fixing up what's to become their home. Soon the home was finally repainted, refurbished, looked up to date and to the liking of the two blondes. There was only one thing that Naruto wanted to add that he never told Temari about. Elsewhere, Tsunade went to heal Kakashi and Sasuke from the mental damage while also trying to figure out a way to heal Lee from his spinal injury on top of being officially named as the Hokage. So for Tsunade it was a very busy week running around, but she always made sure to check in on Naruto and Temari to make sure everything was alright since their relationship determined the peace between the leaf and sand. In the next few hours Temari's brothers and sensei would be heading back to their village, leaving behind one of their own. While Temari was looking around the house some more just to familiarize herself, Naruto was able to slip away to meet up with Gaara to do him a favor. On the way to his home, Naruto filled in Gaara on what he wanted done as a final touch. Soon they arrived to the house where Naruto invited Temari to some lunch at Ichiraku's, which she accepted since she had heard him talk about Ichiraku a bunch but never indulged herself, so she thought she'd try it. Ichiraku ramen stand. Hey old man, can I get 2 miso ramens? What do y'all want? Naruto asked. I guess I'll just have whatever you normally get. Temari said, I'll do the same as you, Naruto. Gaara replied, make it 4. Naruto exclaimed, you got it, Naruto. Tucci said as he and his daughter Ayame began cooking up the ramen. Right when the bowls got served to them, Tsunade, Kakashi, Iruka and Jiraiya all walked in and took a seat while ordering the same bowl as Naruto. Lady Hokage. It's nice to see you again, and same to you, Master Jiraiya. Temari said nervously, not expecting this group to show up. Relax, we're just here to enjoy some good ramen. Jiraiya said, great ramen, pervy sage. Naruto replied, stop calling me that brat, anyways, like my idiot teammate said, we're just here to enjoy some ramen. Tsunade said, slurping down some noodles. After Naruto and Gaara finished, Tsunade spoke up. Do you boys mind leaving us with Temari for a minute? Tsunade asked a little too sweetly, which Naruto picked up on. Instantly Naruto and Gaara popped into smoke, leaving Temari surprised as hell. They were clones. I'm gonna kill that jerk. Temari yelled. Damn, even I didn't know they were clones. Jiraiya said, he does have moments of brilliance. Kakashi said, anyways, we just want to have a quick chat with you, Temari. Tsunade said, getting everyone's attention in the stand. Naruto's home? Okay, we got some time, so go ahead, do your thing. Naruto said, and Gaara made a giant desert of sorts in an area of the backyard with some sand dunes to make it feel more realistic. Thanks Gaara, I think she's gonna love it. The blonde said, just remember what Kankuro and I said. Gaara replied, don't worry, I'll protect her with my life. Naruto said, good. The redhead replied, Ichiraku ramen stand. Now Temari, what we're about to tell you may scare you a little or maybe make you nauseous. Tsunade said, slapping down a thick manila folder. What's in it? She asked. Open up and find out. Jiraiya said, sipping on some tea. Temari opened it and saw that it was Naruto's full medical history. Everything he told her was in the folder, and things he didn't mention were in there. Photos and very descriptive paragraphs painted a nightmarish picture for Temari, and for the first time in a while she began to tremble. It was slight, but it was still visible. Why? Why are you making me read through this? Why am I seeing this? Temari asked, shaken. Because everyone here cares deeply for that boy. He's been to hell and back more than the devil himself. You need to know what you're getting into. The Naruto that's been showing himself isn't the real Naruto. Jiraiya said, what do you mean the real Naruto? She asked, when you've been thrown, kicked, stabbed, burned, and everything else in that folder, right to death's door, you tend to hide your true emotions and feelings from everyone. But he put on a mask, if you will, to hide those emotions and feelings. He's a sweet boy for doing that when you think of it. Tsunade said, sipping some sake. The fact that that boy still tries to put a smile on everyone's face even when he can't give a real one says something about him. He doesn't want anyone to go through what he did. So he chooses to hide behind a mask, and it's fooled just about everyone, except those of us here. Kakashi finished. Welcome to the club. Jiraiya said, slurping on some noodles. So what am I gonna see once I start living with him? Temari asked, who knows? Iruka said, pipping up. That boy can still be a mystery even to me. Anger. Jiraiya started getting everyone's eyes on him and Kakashi knew exactly what the Toad Sage was talking about. Anger, fear, doubt, regret, jealousy. He feels so many emotions on any given day yet hides it all in front of everyone. But once he's alone it all comes pouring out of him. I've seen him without his mask only a few times, it ain't pretty Temari. Jiraiya finished. So what should I do? She asked. Be there for him. Kakashi said, he's been through so many obstacles that I don't know if he even really wants to become Hokage anymore. But you need to be there for him in times of hurt, and you need to support him no matter what. It's different with those of us being older than Naruto by a significant amount, say Ayame. If he was to have someone truly support him he can go on to do great things. The Cyclops finished. I understand. Thank you everyone. Temari said bowing to them and clutching the folder to her chest. For professional reasons I'm gonna need to hold on to that folder, but just keep in mind everything you read and saw. Tsunade said, yes milady. Temari replied, now, on to another topic. The wedding is going to be postponed. What? Thanks for watching guys.